she found them both in embrace, kissing on kind of stuff. A few years ago, I would say 5-6 years ago, we have this one client, currently still a client. This person has quite a big shop. There's a front facing area and there's a back area with the kitchen and everything, no?
Yeah, I can imagine.
So what happened was, normally the boss would come in, say around maybe 9 o'clock. Okay. So this time, because of whatever reason, so when she came 7:30, but there's no employees. She walked all the way to the back, and behind a cupboard, she found the two of them. And they were engaging in some romantic activities. And it totally shocked her to the core, because both of them are employees. Both of them are separately married to their own spouses. And she really didn't expect this kind of thing to happen.
Building an SME is never smooth. Growth is hard, challenges are constant, and bad advice can set you back. Hi, my name is Khadijah from Accounting Superhero. As a management support executive in this company, my role is to assist the company's management and directors in the stewardship of this company. Every week, I book a one-to-one mentoring with my boss, Mr. Faz, so that I can perform better in my role. Join me as I go through a range of topics relevant with SME business owners like yourself who are keen to grow your business and ascend to the next level. Before I start, I just want to share that whatever is being shared here is based on real advice and experience from a professional chartered accountant for more than 20 years of industry experience. Mr. Faz is a no bullshit kind of person. Are you ready? Let's go!
So, hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast. A lot of business owners don't really want to deal with, but eventually have to, which is employee misbehaviors and disciplinary issues. When your team is small, you can close one eye. But once the business grows, things like lateness, poor attitude, or conflicts can affect the whole company. So today we are going to talk about these matters. Hello, Mr. Faz.
Hi, how are you?
How are you? I'm good. How about you?
Okay, all good, alhamdulillah.
Okay, so today we are going to talk about employee misbehaviors and how to deal with these matters. So when an employer feels something is off with the team, so what should they actually look at?
Okay. First and foremost, this is a very hot, I would say a very loaded topic. Okay, thank you for choosing something like this. So, okay. First off, I would say yes. I think when you open with the line that when the business is small, it's not really an issue lah. But when you have more employees, I would say maybe 3 or more, or 5 or more, then business owners need to think about this lah. Okay. So I would say misbehavior is something that happens when the employee doesn't follow the rules lah. Okay, the rules that you preset in a business. Okay, they don't follow it and they start to do their own thing lah in that sense. Okay, disciplinary issues I would say are things like they do something which is basically against what you tell them. Okay, so meaning you have corrected them, no, but they still do it against you lah in that sense. So that would be a disciplinary issue. Okay, so first and foremost, I think for me, what I would say is you always need to identify the problem. Okay, find out what's going on. Okay, what's going wrong. Try to understand the actual disciplinary issue before you take action. Don't just jump and start shooting people. Just cool first. Try to understand what's really happening. So think about what is the actual behavior which is problematic. Okay, is it lateness? Is it poor performance? Is it insubordination, meaning they never follow your orders or something? Or there could be conflicts. Number 2, think about who is involved. Is it only one person? Is it localized within a department? That means the whole department has the same problem. Or is it spreading across the whole company in that sense? Think about how long this has happened. Is it something which is recently happened, or is it an ongoing issue which has not been resolved? And also, is it a once-off incident, or is it something that is keep recurring in your business?
Basically, identify the root cause first lah.
Yes. Then there's some more things like what is the impact that this behavior is causing to the business. So you cannot just say I don't like this. That's the one. The impact is on you that you don't like this. but you should consider what is the impact onto the business. If it's, late coming and whatever not, it could be affecting the productivity in the business, or some conflicts causing some employees to lose morale. They come to work, they get upset, for example. So this is the real impact, right? And also, have you done something about it already? So in the past, have you actually given a warning? Have you done something informal like, hey, so and so, you shouldn't be doing this. Can you please stop it? I don't want to, give you a formal warning. Consider this as an informal one. Make sure you start behaving the way you're supposed to, for example. So, and how did they respond to it? Did they say, okay, sorry boss, I'll make sure this thing's not repeated, or how it was actually responded to makes a difference as well, right? Once you know this whole entire thing, you're clear, then we can go on how to solve the problem.
I see. So basically, having to run the business for like 25 years, what are some of the common issues that we see in the workplace? That do you see? Yeah.
Okay, so this is drawing on my experience in the past. I say, although we've been running business for 35 years, maybe our exposure towards having more employees and what comes from that, I would discount it in the first 5 years. So I would say 20 years. Right? So maybe there are some common disciplinary issues which we see from time to time. One of which is actually lateness and absenteeism. Like for example, lateness is very usual. So by certain time haven't come in yet, they come in a bit late, that kind of stuff. Absenteeism is you don't hear from them for that day. They are just missing. The next day they come, they say, I'm so sorry, this thing happened, that thing happened. But they never bother to tell
They
you
never
that.
inform.
Yes, they
Yeah,
inform you.
ROs.
Yeah. So these kind of things, I think it's very important to have a proper policy on attendance, right? Don't just say work starts from this time, but you should spell it out. Work starts from this time. You're expected to be at your table or whatever it is, or whatever time. Any attendance after this time will be considered late. And if there's any consequence, must mention it. Okay. Number 2 would be, I would say, poor work performance. Okay. Poor work performance, there could be many types. It could be because the person you hired, sometimes I'm sorry to say, but sometimes when you employ someone, they really overpromise what they can do. They come up with so much experience and they say they have got it, but they really lack the skills that they are able to do it. So they can't really carry it out. Sometimes they could actually be very unmotivated, or they lost motivation along the way.
I see.
This is like an example along the way, because the work maybe gets a bit mundane, perhaps. So they lose motivation, or they actually change their attitude towards work. I would say for this kind of situation, in the event there's a lack of skills or there's a bit of attitude issues that you're facing with, I think training is important. Okay, I think it's good to keep training as something which you keep having for employees, because then they can be better, in that sense. At the same time, I think in terms of performance, we need to hold our people accountable. So, of course, we want to make sure that you pay them well, you remunerate them well, but at the same time, you also want performance. So, you need to hold them accountable for what they're supposed to produce, and you must be accountable for what you're supposed to remunerate as well. So, it should be a
two-way thing.
process. Yep. Things like office conflicts and toxic behavior are also something that can happen. So office conflicts, I would say, between staff, sometimes it could be low-key bullying, It could be gossips, it could be talking about each other, toxic behavior like snide remarks, don't want to be unresponsive in meetings, departmental meetings, that kind of stuff. All these things can happen. I think as a boss, as a business owner, you need to actually have a very strict policy on how much you can tolerate all these things. I think when it comes to workplace bullying, you should have a zero tolerance policy. Do not be okay with this. Okay. No employee should be having to face any form of bullying. And you as a boss, the buck stops with you. If you need to defend your people. Another thing that could happen is actually, I've seen before, is disrespect towards management. Like for example, employees, they challenge the authority, but without reason, So this is something which happens, especially when employees actually lack experience. They lack emotional or personal, what do you call this? Maturity, So sometimes they think that working is the same as going to school. So there could be, the thing that it's okay for you to actually be disrespectful to people. So I think the best that you can do is to remind them that they're supposed to be professional and what your expectations are. Another thing that often happens is employees actually neglect their responsibilities. For example, and this thing has happened many times before. Every company has deadlines, right? And usually deadlines are repeated every month, right? So how will you actually react if you're a boss and your employee suddenly, every time before the deadline, the day before, or on the day itself, they suddenly go MC? Not once, but repeatedly, every single month. So these kind of things can happen. Job expectations come first. At the end of the day, if they are hired to do a certain job and they're supposed to actually make sure that they handle the responsibility, then they should be there to actually handle it properly, because you cannot just push it to someone else, right? So that's where things like performance improvement program will come in, right? You need to make sure that you help them to improve their performance over a certain period of time. So make sure you help them to be better, So I would say handling disciplinary issues is not, it shouldn't be just a negative thing. It shouldn't be a negative thing in the first place. It should be taken in a positive way to help them be better.
I see.
Yeah.
This is what they call like the PIP, I think, the performance improvement plan.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So basically it's
So everything is solved through PIP.
Oh, not everything is of PIP. Okay. What are the examples of PIP? Is it like the appraisal? No.
No. So a PIP is really, you sit down with an employee, you go through with them over the next 1 month. These are the clear set of things that they need to actually deliver. Okay.
What are your expectations basically?
Yes. And then you break it down from that month into shorter periods, into every week, for example. And you hold them accountable. You tell them, look, every week, these are the things that you're supposed to make sure is done. This will snowball into every month. By the end of the month, we're going to have another appraisal. We'll look at all of these things, make sure these things are properly handled. So they should be held accountable for that, how they actually behave and how they actually perform, and their output must be what you expect. So if it actually goes beyond that 1 month, you may want to decide what to do after that. Either extend another 1 more month or take a more serious approach, perhaps.
I understand. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Faz. So basically it's about like setting the boundaries early. I would say setting the limits early, like before things are getting out of control. Okay, so basically, right, let's say an issue is confirmed. So what's the right way to handle it? Handle this like employee misbehaviors and also disciplinary issues.
I think the key thing here is to make sure that the company has a system in place to actually handle a fair disciplinary process. That I think is the main thing. What is the key thing that you should take away from this that I just mentioned is that how you manage a disciplinary issue that surfaces will, if you do it correctly and fairly, right, it will prevent any legal problems from happening later on. And you maintain a positive work environment. Meaning, if you are addressing so and so one person, and because you do it in a fair manner, with established processes, everybody else who knows about this thing happening, they also can see that you are actually handling it professionally with due process and it's fair. So they also know they are also protected by the same set of rules. That I think is the main thing. So I would say, if I can give you some steps, the first thing that you should do is to establish clear company rules. So in the company, you should actually have preset what is acceptable behavior, what is not. You should also set expectations on punctuality, performance, and professional conduct.
I would say it's the guidelines for
Yes. And these things, Khadija, you should have it inside a employee handbook. Okay, and the very best is to have it in a contract. But the contract can also state that further behavior issues or whatever it is will be addressed in the employee handbook, or further information also handled set in the employee handbook. And this handbook will be updated from time to time, and the employee agrees to abide by the employee handbook at all given times.
I see.
Okay, so make sure these things are preset. Example, like for us, I would say this is a very old rule, but it still applies until today. We don't want our staff to dress up like they're going for a picnic or going to the mall or something lah. We don't want them to wear like jeans, tattered pants or whatever it is. So we actually mentioned inside the employee handbook, these kind of things are not acceptable. So we should go to that stage lah. Make sure what is okay, what's not okay.
This podcast has been brought to you by Accounting Superhero, your trusted partner for Zero and SME compliance in Singapore and Malaysia. Switch up to Accounting Superhero today.
Step number 2, when dealing with this disciplinary process, is to address issues that arise privately and professionally. Don't do it publicly, make everybody listen to your unhappiness about the situation. Don't make the person in question really lose face, be embarrassed in front of co-workers lah. Right? So do it privately, one-on-one meeting. And as a boss, always stay calm, listen, and very importantly, document the conversation. Of course, today, in today's world, you can record it on the phone. You can have a device to record as well. If you're doing it over Zoom, you can always record it or have an AI note taker. But in the absence of all this, cool stuff, at least write down what was actually discussed, okay, and what was agreed as well, okay. So this is important, right? From there, coming out from that meeting, then you decide. So coming out from this meeting, right, I think it's important to give a proper warning lah, right? So if your employee doesn't change in their behavior and all that, issue a verbal or written warning, okay? And importantly is to inform them again, this was the problem, this was the improvement that you want from them, and the consequence of continued misbehavior will result in what? So if it results in you terminating them, you must be clear with that. Okay, if you do not change or these things do not improve, then you might be terminated. Right? So make sure it's actually stated properly lah.
I see.
Yeah. Okay. Next, if it's a serious case implement a real performance improvement plan. Then where you ask yourself PIP, right? So this will be a plan which covers a 30-day period, 60-day period, 90-day period. Okay. The first is to make sure that 30-day period is covered. If everything's okay, or not so okay, it continues lah. That means it's improving but not perfect, then it continues, right? And until 90 days, if you really cannot get better, then you might have to stop this employment lah.
What are the serious case that needs PIP?
Usually it's misbehaviors, like lateness, not actually getting things done. They're not accountable for the work they're supposed to do. You have already reminded them, warned them, repeated cases of, not showing up for deadlines. All of this actually affects the business in a big way lah. So I think it's very important to actually do this. But importantly is during that whole period, 30, 60, 90 days, the reporting officer or the boss must be there to provide support. Okay, don't set out your employee to fail. Okay, this PIP shouldn't be a consequence of you getting even. Just straight up, shouldn't be you not happy, the boss not happy, then want to punish the employee, do a PIP. No, just remember, if things don't work out, you can always terminate a contract, especially in Singapore. But you must make sure that you have documented the process, everything is okay, then done. Okay, but if you want to do a PIP, do it properly. Don't set up the employee to fail. Help them, make sure you give them some training, mentorship and all that, and help them to overcome the situation. Right? Last step is termination. This is the last resort. Okay. If you have given warnings, you have helped through PIPs and everything, make sure that documentation is always done along the way. This will avoid any legal complications that may arise. But as an employer, you can always terminate the employee lah.
But that should be like the last step of it all.
Yes.
I see. So looking at this from an accounting perspective, right? So what are the advices that you could give to the business owners as an accountant yourself?
Okay, my advice as an accountant would be from the impact that it causes a business in dollars and cents lah. Okay, because whatever disciplinary issues that you face as an employer, right, your finances will be affected lah. One person has an issue, money becomes affected, everybody else will get affected as well. So it comes from the angle lah. So I would say my advice would be any poor employee behavior, it will cost money. So it affects revenue, projects get delayed, customers become unhappy. So this is something that will definitely make us unproductive. Number two, always make sure that even if your company is small, right, you don't have many employees, get a simple HR system up. Okay, I mean a proper structure. What are the rules of the business? You know, what is your performance expectations? What are the disciplinary procedures that you may actually have to have in the company? Make sure this is done. Even if you have 3 employees, make sure this is done. Okay, in the event there is a real disciplinary action, right, document everything. Okay, and if you were to have a meeting with the person in question, bring in your HR person or another manager perhaps to be there as a witness, or to be there to make sure to mediate, basically to make sure that there is a witness for everything that has happened in that proceeding lah.
So there's like a black and white to everything lah. So
Yes.
the other person can't like twist your words or anything like that.
Yes, it's both ways. I won't say the employee will twist the words. Employer also can twist the words.
Yeah.
So just make sure it's fair, right? And by having another person there, that person is a witness as well. Everything is documented down. Make sure that you have this in the event if things really go bad, right? So in the event that you really need to terminate that employment agreement, you have all these things to fall back on, right? I would say another thing is, if one person can cause issues in a company and your finances get affected, imagine if these things spreads. So do not let bad behavior spread in the company, right? Make sure you stop it the moment it happens. Do not let the company become toxic. Okay, that's the reason why sometimes bosses need to be bosses lah, right? Don't just be cool. Okay, next one is about culture. Okay, the company's reputation, it really depends on how your employees deal with the customers, right? If your team is good, your people are good, they know how to deal with customers, then your business becomes even better. Okay, because your customers are the one who feel very protected, very supported, you know. So this reputation really depends on them, right? But you as the boss need to make sure you have the right culture is being spread in the company. So this culture, you need to determine what it is lah. So if a culture is like, we do everything fast, we are responsive, we are this, we are that, make sure this is something which everybody can ascribe to together, right? They believe in it as well. Then the reputation of the company will always be superb lah. Yeah,
I see, understand. Thank you for the thorough explanation, Mr. Nas.
most welcome.
So as usual, do you have some horror stories that you could share with us about this topic, like from you to your clients?
Can. Horror stories. Actually, I have one. Few years ago, I would say 5-6 years ago, we have this one client, currently still a client, but at that point in time, this client was running a slightly bigger business lah, in the food and beverage industry. So this person has quite a big shop, and then so the shop is quite big. So there's a front facing area and there's a back area with kitchen and everything, no?
Yeah, I can imagine.
So what happened was, normally the boss will come in say around maybe 9 o'clock. Okay, so this time, because of whatever reason, she actually came in earlier lah. I think 7 plus she already came in.
Oh, quite early.
Quite early. And usually for this particular location, it only becomes busy after 11 o'clock. So morning usually there's no crowd. It's only lunch lah. So when she came 7:30, she was expected to be empty, no one, right? Funny thing was, the shop was open, everything was running fine, but there's no employees lah. So she kind of searched high and low, where are my stuff, you know? So to put things into perspective, there is one cook okay, who's around 20 plus year old guy, and there is the helper who actually does the sales and preps the food for the customer, who's I think maybe 60 plus year old lady lah. Very vast age difference lah. So she went to the kitchen and she still found it was still empty. She walked all the way to the back, and behind a cupboard she found the two of them, and they were engaging in some romantic activities. Okay, and it totally shocked her to the core lah. Yeah, because both of them are employees. Both of them are separately married to their own spouses. She found them both in embrace, kissing on, and kind of stuff lah. And she really didn't expect this kind of things to happen lah. Right? But anyway, it happened. It happened. So yeah, I think she gave them a warning. She told them not to do this. She reminded them from the moral perspective as well. But sometimes, you know, when you don't have a real HR system in place, you don't have the authority to say, look, if you do this again, this is going to be the next step, right? Then the employees will tend to do it again. So despite her being upset and everything, and giving them a real stern warning and scolding them and even crying and everything, it happened again, like 2 or 3 times.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yes.
Basically, like, what did the employee do, like, for these, like, 2 employees?
Basically, she scolded them lah. So because it's a small business, she doesn't have so much processes in place, right? She doesn't have like HR.
The structure is not solid enough.
Yeah. So it's just like, you know, like the boss just scold you lah, that kind of thing. So it doesn't become a serious matter, right?
And then that's it. And then they can just like work as usual, is it?
Yeah. So nothing happens. So because of that, it's like, then the thing happen again and again and again. Until one fine day, she thinks, really, I cannot have this go on, because honestly, it will escalate and become something worse. So then she let go both of them. So that's what happened.
Wow.
But
So basically, I think like it's important to have like some basic HR structure in place lah.
even if it's a small company.
Even if it's a small company. Yeah.
So was that scary enough? Was it a horror enough story?
It's horrifying enough for me.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Faz, for the sharing about the employee misbehaviors and disciplinary issues today. I learned quite a lot from you. Thank you. So basically, to wrap up, disciplinary issues shouldn't be ignored, but they also shouldn't be handled harshly or emotionally lah. Clear expectations, fair processes, and early actions both protect the business and also the team. Thank you for your insight today, Mr. Faz, and thank you everyone for listening. So we'll see you in the next episode. Bye. If you found this episode helpful, do check out our checklist on faztheaccountant.com to know more about this matter. In the next episode, we uncover another interesting topic, buying a home as a business owner. How to structure your income for a future mortgage. See you on the next episode. Bye.